The Arizona sunset painted the sky in shades of blood and fire, 5 stories above the cracked asphalt of an abandoned warehouse parking lot. 6-year-old Emma Carter stood at the edge of forever. The desert wind pulled at her dark hair, and her small hands clutched something precious against her chest. A Rolex Submariner, her dead mother's watch. The only piece of Rebecca Carter that still ticked with life. 3 teenage boys circled behind her like wolves. Dylan Blake, 13 years old, with eyes as cold as his father's, stepped forward. His friends blocked any escape. But the real predator stood directly in front of Emma, close enough that the little girl could smell her expensive perfume. Victoria Blackwood Carter. Stepmother. Beautiful. Elegant. Murderous. Victoria, please. I'm scared. Emma's voice trembled, but her blue eyes stayed open. Those eyes. Rebecca's eyes. Eyes that saw too much. Remembered everything, understood more than any 6-year-old should. Victoria's face held no warmth, no motherly concern, just calculation, just cold mathematics of survival and profit. "Mommy?" Emma tried again, the word catching in her throat. "Why are you doing this?" Victoria knelt down, bringing herself to Emma's eye level. When she spoke, her voice carried the temperature of a morgue. "You're not my daughter, Emma. You never were. You're just a loose end that needs to be tied off." Dylan laughed behind her. "Told you she's a freak, Mrs. Carter. Always drawing things. Always remembering stuff she shouldn't." Emma backed up. 1 step. 2. Her heels touched empty air. Below, the concrete waited with infinite patience. 5 stories. 75 feet. Approximately 4.2 seconds of freefall. Terminal velocity at impact. Death. "Please." The word came out as barely a whisper. "Daddy promised he'd come home today. He promised." Victoria stood. Her designer heels clicked on the rooftop gravel. "Your daddy's in Los Angeles, Emma, signing deals, making money, choosing his company over you, just like he always does." The sun dropped another degree toward the horizon. Shadows lengthened. The watch in Emma's hand ticked steadily. 7:47 p.m. Each second a heartbeat. Each heartbeat potentially her last. "Mommy, Rebecca," Emma whispered to the watch, tears streaming down her face. "If you can hear me, if you're really watching over me like Daddy says, please, I'm so scared." Victoria's hand shot out, not to comfort, to push. The impact was sudden, violent, final. Emma's small body tilted backward into space. Gravity took hold with inexorable force. The warehouse roof disappeared above her. The sky wheeled. The concrete rushed up from below. Emma didn't scream. Terror had stolen her voice. She simply fell, clutching her mother's watch, and in her mind echoed Rebecca's last words from that hospital bed 2 years ago. "Your daddy loves you more than anything, Emma. Never forget that. When you're scared, when you need him most, he'll be there. Because a father's promise never dies." 4 stories. 3 stories. 2. The watch kept ticking. 7:47 and 18 seconds. 19. 20. Then, from the shadows at the base of the building, a figure exploded into motion. Jake Carter, 52 years old. Chief Executive Officer of Cross Security Solutions, former FBI special agent, former undercover operative who'd spent 15 years infiltrating the Hell Angels motorcycle club, A man who'd killed, who'd lied, who'd survived 1,000 deadly situations through split-second decisions and perfect execution. A father who'd failed his daughter every single day for the past 2 years. A father who was about to make his last promise count. Jake didn't think. His body moved on pure instinct, decades of combat training taking control. He calculated the trajectory in microseconds. Wind speed. Emma's weight. The angle of her fall. He positioned himself with the precision of a surgeon. His arms opened wide. His knees bent to absorb the impact. His eyes locked onto his falling daughter. One story. Emma's body slammed into Jake's arms with the force of a car crash. The momentum drove Jake to his knees. His boots cracked the asphalt. Every bone in his body screamed, but his arms held. His grip didn't falter. His daughter was safe. For 3 eternal seconds, father and daughter simply stared at each other. Emma's blue eyes were impossibly wide. "Daddy, you came." Jake's voice cracked, tears streaming down his face. "I'm here, baby girl. I've got you. I'll always have you." Above them, 5 stories up, Victoria Blackwood Carter stared down in disbelief. Her perfect plan shattered, her target alive, her carefully constructed world collapsing. She turned and ran. Jake held Emma tighter, feeling her racing heartbeat against his chest. The Rolex pressed between them, still ticking, still keeping time. Time for family. "Daddy, I was so scared. I thought you were in Los Angeles. I thought you weren't coming." Jake pressed his lips to Emma's forehead. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every broken promise, every missed recital, every night he'd chosen his company over his child. "I know, sweetheart. I know. And I'm so sorry. But I promise you, on your mother's memory, on everything I am, no one will ever hurt you again. A father's promise never dies." In his arms, Emma began to sob. Not from fear now, from relief, from exhaustion, from finally feeling safe. The Arizona sunset continued its descent. In exactly 72 hours, this moment would arrive. But first, the story must go back. Back to where everything began to unravel. Back to when Jake Carter still believed he could have it all. Back to 72 hours earlier, when he made the choice that would change everything. 72 hours before the fall, the Phoenix skyline glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of Jake Carter's corner office. 15th floor. Executive suite. 4,000 square feet of polished hardwood, Italian leather, and the trappings of success. Cross-security solutions occupied 3 floors of the building. 200 employees. Contracts with half the wealthy families in Arizona. Projected revenue of $200 million this fiscal year. Jake sat behind a desk worth more than most people's cars and felt absolutely nothing. The board meeting had run long. 3 hours of presentations, projections, profit margins. The expansion into cybersecurity was moving forward. The acquisition of 2 competing firms was nearly finalized. Everything was perfect on paper. His phone buzzed. A text message. Emma. "Daddy, today is my piano recital. 6 p.m. You promised you'd come. I love you." 3 little hearts. A piano emoji. Sent at 2:15 p.m. Jake looked at his calendar. 6 p.m. was blocked off in red. Investor dinner. The Wilkinson Group. $50 million of funding on the table. 3 months of negotiations coming to fruition. His fingers hovered over the phone. He started to type. "Sweetie, Daddy has a very important meeting tonight." Delete. Emma, I'm so sorry, but something came up. Delete. His eyes drifted to his left wrist. The Rolex Submariner. Rebecca's last gift to him before she died. He'd tried to give it to Emma, but she'd insisted he keep it. So you remember Mommy when you're at work, Emma had said with heartbreaking wisdom. He turned the watch over. The engraving caught the light. Time for family, always. Rebecca's handwriting, etched in gold. Jake closed his eyes. He could hear Rebecca's voice as clearly as if she were standing beside him. Jake, money doesn't hug our daughter goodnight. Success doesn't show up to her recitals. I'm dying, and there's nothing we can do about that. But Emma is still here. She needs you present, not just providing. That had been 3 months before the cancer took her. Emma was 4 then. Now she was 6. 2 years of growing up without her mother. 2 years of her father slowly disappearing into his work, using the company as armor against the grief. Jake's thumb hovered over the keyboard. Then he typed, "Sorry, sweetie, Daddy has an important meeting. Tomorrow, I promise, I'll take you for ice cream." Send. He set the phone down and returned to his computer. The investor presentation needed final revisions. The Wilkinson Group expected perfection. $50 million expected perfection. Jake didn't see the 3 dots that appeared on Emma's phone. The message she started to type, and then deleted. He didn't see his daughter, sitting in her room, staring at that message, feeling the familiar ache of being second place to Daddy's work. He didn't see Victoria, his wife of 6 months, watching Emma through the doorway, with eyes that held no love at all. The perfect stepmother, Victoria Blackwood Carter, moved through the kitchen of the Cross Mansion with the practiced grace of someone who'd spent years perfecting an image. 35 years old, blonde, beautiful. The kind of woman who turned heads at charity galas and made other wives nervous at country clubs. She'd met Jake at a fundraiser 18 months after Rebecca died. He'd been drowning in grief and single fatherhood. She'd been sympathetic, attentive, patient. Everything a grieving widower needed. They'd married after 4 months of courtship. Too fast, Jake's friends had said. But Jake had convinced himself that Emma needed a mother, that he needed a partner, that moving forward meant moving on. Victoria checked the time, 3:30 p.m. She picked up her phone and walked into the pantry, closing the door behind her. The number she dialed wasn't saved in her contacts. It was never saved. 2 rings. A man's voice answered, heavily accented, dangerous. Yes? Raphael, we have a problem. Victoria kept her voice low. The girl is becoming too observant. I think she saw us meeting last week. Rafael Moreno, also known as the Viper, lieutenant in the Los Serpientes cartel, 45 years old, a scar running from his left eye to the corner of his mouth, a man who'd earned his nickname by skinning his enemies alive. Also, Victoria's real partner, in business and in bed. You're certain? The Viper's voice remained calm. He was always calm. That's what made him terrifying. She keeps drawing pictures. Everything she sees, she draws. That freakish memory of hers. And this morning I caught her staring at me when I was on the phone with you. Then we accelerate the timeline. Victoria glanced at the closed pantry door, listening for footsteps. It's too soon. Jake doesn't fully trust me yet with the business. I don't have access to everything we need. Victoria, listen to me carefully. The Viper's tone didn't change, but something cold entered it. The FBI hit our Tucson operation last night. 3 of our warehouses, 40 men arrested. The noose is tightening. We need to move the entire operation to Red Valley now. This month, not next quarter. I understand, but Cross Security has contracts with every major client in Arizona. Security codes, schedules, vulnerabilities. Everything we need is in Jake Carter's databases. You were supposed to get us access. And I will. I just need more time. We're out of time. 72 hours, Victoria. That's what you have. Get us what we need or we move without you. Victoria's jaw clenched. What about the girl? The Viper was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was matter-of-fact. The girl is a liability. Her memory, her observations, her drawings. When Jake is weak and grieving, he'll sign anything we put in front of him. So we remove the liability. You mean? I mean exactly what you think I mean. Make it look like an accident. Jake will be devastated. You comfort him. Within a month, you'll have complete control of Cross Security. We'll have our American headquarters. Everyone wins. Victoria's hand tightened on the phone. She'd known this was coming. Had planned for it, even. But hearing it stated so baldly made it real. 72 hours, she repeated. 72 hours. Don't disappoint me, Victoria. I don't react well to disappointment. The line went dead. Victoria stood in the pantry for a long moment, composing herself. When she emerged, her face was serene, perfectly domestic. She checked the roast in the oven, hummed a cheerful tune, and walked toward Emma's room. The door was ajar. Emma sat at her desk, surrounded by notebooks. Drawing. Victoria knocked gently. Emma, sweetie? Dinner will be ready soon. Emma didn't look up. Her pencil moved across the paper with intense concentration. That's when Victoria saw what Emma was drawing. A woman talking on a phone, blonde hair, designer clothes, angry expression, and in the corner of the page, a man's face, heavily scarred, one eye to corner of mouth. The Viper. Victoria felt ice water run down her spine. What are you drawing, sweetheart? Emma's hand covered the drawing protectively. Nothing. Just pictures. Can I see? No. Emma pulled the notebook closer. For the first time, her blue eyes met Victoria's directly. And in those eyes, Victoria saw something that chilled her. Suspicion. This 6-year-old child suspected her. Victoria's smile never wavered. Okay, honey. Come down when you're ready. She turned and walked calmly back downstairs. Once in the kitchen, she immediately texted the Viper. Change of plans. The girl definitely knows something. We move tonight. The response came within seconds. Good. I'll send Blake and his son. They'll handle it. Victoria looked at the family photo on the refrigerator. Jake, Victoria, and Emma. Smiling. Perfect. A lie. She'd never wanted to be a mother. She'd never wanted this suburban life. She wanted money, power, freedom. And Jake Carter's company was her ticket to all three. If a 6-year-old girl had to die for that, well, Victoria had done worse, for less. The observant child. Emma sat very still at her desk after Victoria left. Her heart pounded. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the pencil. She wasn't stupid. She was 6 years old, but she wasn't stupid. Emma had her mother's gift. Eidetic memory. The doctors had explained it to her daddy when she was 4. Emma remembered everything she saw. Every face. Every conversation. Every detail. Her brain captured the world like a camera, storing it perfectly. It made school hard. Other kids thought she was weird. Teachers didn't know what to do with her. But Mommy had told her it was special. A superpower, Mommy had called it. You see the world differently, Emma. You notice things other people miss. That's going to help you do amazing things someday. Emma missed Mommy so much it hurt. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was Mommy's Rolex, the watch Daddy had tried to give her after Mommy died. Emma wound it carefully, listening to the familiar ticking. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma whispered to the watch. "Victoria isn't nice. She pretends when Daddy's around, but when it's just us, she's mean. And I saw her meeting that scary man with the scar. They were kissing, Mommy. Victoria is married to Daddy, but she was kissing another man." The watch ticked steadily, time passing, seconds becoming minutes, becoming hours. Emma had tried to tell Daddy, but Daddy was always busy, always on his phone, always at the office. And when Emma tried to talk about Victoria, Daddy would say, "Give her a chance, sweetie. She's trying to be a good mom to you." But she wasn't. Emma knew she wasn't. Emma opened her notebook to a blank page and began drawing from memory. The parking lot behind the grocery store, last Wednesday, Victoria's car, the black SUV that pulled up next to it, the man who stepped out. Emma drew every detail, the scar on his face, the tattoo on his neck that looked like a snake, the way he'd grabbed Victoria and kissed her, the way Victoria had kissed him back. And something else Emma remembered. Something important. When the man had turned, Emma had seen a gun tucked into his belt. Not a normal gun like the security guards at Daddy's office had. A big gun, like in the movies Daddy didn't let her watch. Bad people carried guns like that. Emma knew this instinctively, which meant Victoria knew bad people, which meant Victoria was bad people too. Emma's phone buzzed. Daddy's text. "Sorry, sweetie. Daddy has an important meeting. Tomorrow, I promise. I'll take you for ice cream." Emma read it 3 times. Each time, the hurt went deeper. The recital was tonight. She'd been practicing for 3 months. Daddy had promised. He'd promised. Emma's fingers moved to type a response. "But Daddy, you promised. Please come." She stopped. Deleted it. What was the point? Daddy would just make another excuse. Another promise he wouldn't keep. Instead, she typed, "Okay, Daddy, I love you." 3 words, all true. But they didn't make the hurt go away. Emma set the phone down and picked up the watch again. She whispered to it like she whispered every night. "Mommy, when is Daddy going to love me more than his work? When is he going to keep his promises? I try to be good. I try not to bother him, but I miss him, and I'm scared of Victoria, and I don't know what to do." The watch ticked. Steady. Reliable. Unlike everything else in Emma's world. Outside her window, the Arizona sun climbed toward its peak. In exactly 71 hours and 37 minutes, Emma would be falling from a rooftop. But she didn't know that yet. She only knew that Daddy was missing another promise, and Victoria was getting scarier. And she felt very, very alone. She wound the watch one more time, tucked it carefully back in its box, and went downstairs for dinner with a woman who was planning to murder her. The Red Valley Elementary School auditorium smelled of floor polish and old wood. Parents filed into rows of folding chairs, cameras ready, phones positioned for recording. 6 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. The spring recital. 43 students would perform tonight. Piano, violin, a few brave souls attempting cello. Emma Carter would be student number 17. She sat backstage in the white dress Rebecca had bought her 2 months before the cancer diagnosis came back. The dress was getting small now. Emma had grown, but she'd insisted on wearing it anyway. It was the last thing Mommy had ever bought her. Emma's small fingers rested on her lap. Not moving. Not fidgeting. just waiting. Her eyes stayed locked on the stage entrance curtain. Beyond it, she could hear the murmur of the gathering crowd, parents greeting each other, children's nervous laughter, the rustle of programs. Mrs. Chen, the music teacher, walked past checking on her students. She paused when she saw Emma sitting so still. "Nervous, sweetie?" Emma shook her head. "No, ma'am. I remember all the notes." Mrs. Chen smiled. Of course Emma remembered. Emma remembered everything. "Your daddy coming tonight?" Emma's face gave nothing away. Her voice was quiet, practiced at hiding disappointment. "He said he has an important meeting." "Oh." Mrs. Chen's expression faltered. "Well, I'm sure he wanted to be here." Emma didn't respond. She'd stopped believing what adults were sure about. Out in the audience, Victoria Blackwood Carter sat in the 4th row, center section. The seat beside her remained empty. Jake's seat. Victoria checked her phone. Not texting, just checking the time. Calculating. Always calculating. The woman next to Victoria leaned over. "Is your husband coming?" Victoria's smile was perfect. Practiced. "Traffic. You know how Phoenix is at rush hour." The woman nodded sympathetically. Victoria's phone buzzed. She checked it discreetly. A message from Rafael Moreno. "The Viper. Timeline accelerating. FBI hit another warehouse. We move tomorrow. Confirm." Victoria's jaw tightened. Tomorrow. That was too soon. But the Viper didn't make suggestions. He gave orders. She typed back with her thumbs hidden below the seat in front of her. "Confirmed. After school. Blake's son will extract her." She hit send and pocketed her phone. Then she pulled out her camera, positioning it to record. The perfect stepmother, documenting Emma's performance for Jake to watch later, building the alibi of a woman who cared. The lights dimmed. The recital began. Student after student walked onto that small stage, some confident, some terrified, all doing their best. Parents applauded each performance with enthusiasm, regardless of skill level. This was what parents did. They showed up. They witnessed. They celebrated their children's efforts. Jake's seat remained empty. "Emma Carter," Mrs. Chen announced. Emma walked onto the stage. Small for her age, thin, dark hair pulled back with a blue ribbon. Rebecca's ribbon. In the audience, Victoria raised her camera and began recording. Emma sat at the piano bench, adjusted her position, placed her hands on the keys, closed her eyes for just a moment. In her mind, she heard her mother's voice. A memory from 3 years ago. Rebecca sitting beside her at their home piano, guiding Emma's small hands across the keys. Music is mathematics, sweetheart. But it's also emotion. The notes are what you play. The feeling is why you play. Emma opened her eyes and began. Beethoven, Für Elise. One of the most recognizable pieces in the classical repertoire, memorized perfectly in Emma's extraordinary mind. Her fingers moved across the keys with technical precision, every note correct, every rest timed perfectly. But something was happening that Emma hadn't planned. As she moved into the piece's softer middle section, the melody that had always felt abstract suddenly felt personal. The melancholy notes became her father's broken promises. The rising passages became her hope each time he said he'd come. The falling motifs became her disappointment when he didn't. Tears started streaming down Emma's face. She didn't stop playing. Couldn't stop. Her muscle memory and eidetic recall kept her fingers moving even as her vision blurred, even as her throat tightened, even as her heart broke a little more with each measure. In the audience, parents shifted uncomfortably. This was too raw, too real. A 6-year-old child crying on stage while playing a piece about loss and longing. Mrs. Chen stood in the wings, hand over her mouth. She'd seen nervous tears before. Performance anxiety. But this was different. This was grief. Victoria kept recording. Her face showed appropriate concern. The camera captured Emma's tears, her trembling shoulders, her perfect execution despite obvious emotional pain. Good. This would play well later. The struggling child, the supportive stepmother, the absent father. The piece ended. Emma's hands lifted from the keys. She stood, turned to the audience, curtsied as Mrs. Chen had taught them. The applause was gentle, sympathetic. Emma walked off stage. Behind the curtain, Mrs. Chen tried to hug her. "Sweetie, are you okay? Do you want to call your dad?" Emma pulled away gently. "I'm okay, Mrs. Chen. I just miss my mommy." I know you do." Emma's hand went to her pocket. Found the small shape there. Rebecca's Rolex. She'd brought it with her. Kept it close. The ticking was a comfort. A reminder that time kept moving even when everything felt stuck. Mrs. Chen knelt down to Emma's level. "Your playing was beautiful. Technically perfect. And the emotion you brought to it was honest. Your mother would be so proud." Would my daddy be proud? The question came out small, vulnerable. Mrs. Chen hesitated. What could she say? That Jake should have been there? That missing his daughter's recital was inexcusable? That Emma deserved better? "I think your daddy loves you very much. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes about priorities." Emma nodded. She'd heard variations of this excuse many times. From teachers, from neighbors, from well-meaning adults who didn't understand that explanations didn't fill the empty seat. "Can I go now? Victoria's probably waiting." "Of course, sweetie." Emma gathered her things, walked through the backstage area, into the auditorium. Victoria was chatting with other parents, laughing, charming. When she saw Emma, her smile widened. "There's my little star. Emma, you were wonderful." Victoria pulled Emma into a hug that looked warm, but felt mechanical. "I recorded the whole thing for Daddy to watch." Emma didn't respond. Just let herself be hugged. Let Victoria play her role. They walked to the car. Victoria chattering about how beautiful the performance was, how proud Jake would be, how they'd watch the video together when he got home from Los Angeles. Emma stared out the window, said nothing. Victoria glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You're quiet. What's wrong?" "Nothing." Emma's voice was flat. "Emma, sweetie, I know you're disappointed Daddy couldn't make it. But his work is very important. More important than me." Victoria's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "That's not fair. Your father works hard to give you a good life." "I don't want a good life. I want my dad." Victoria had no response to that. The rest of the drive passed in silence. The phone call that changed everything. 11 p.m. Jake sat in his home office. The house was quiet. Emma asleep upstairs. Victoria in the master bedroom watching television. Jake had watched Victoria's video of Emma's recital 3 times. Each viewing was worse than the last. His daughter's tears, her shoulders shaking, her small body trying to hold itself together while her heart broke on stage. Because he hadn't been there. because he'd chosen a dinner meeting with investors over his daughter's moment. Jake set his phone down, picked up Rebecca's photo from his desk, stared at his dead wife's face. "I'm failing her, Beck. I promised you I'd put her first, but I keep choosing everything else." Rebecca's smile in the photograph seemed sad, disappointed. Jake's phone buzzed, an alert from his company's security system. Someone had accessed the client database at 11 p.m. from an unauthorized location. Jake frowned, opened his laptop, pulled up the security logs. The access had come from inside the house, from the guest bedroom, where Victoria kept her home office. Jake's FBI instincts activated. He moved quietly through the house, down the hallway. The guest bedroom door was closed, but not locked. He turned the handle slowly, silently. Victoria sat at the desk, laptop open. She was transferring files, client lists, security codes, schedules, everything that would allow someone to bypass cross-security's protection systems. Jake stepped back, pulled out his phone, started recording video through the crack in the door. Victoria was on a call, speaking quietly, but Jake could hear every word. "I'm sending the files now, Raphael. Everything you need. Home security systems for 53 high-value targets, real-time location data, response times." Raphael. Jake's blood went cold. Rafael Moreno, the Viper. One of Los Serpientes' most dangerous operatives. Jake had a file on him from his FBI days. Torture, murder, human trafficking. And Victoria was talking to him like a business partner. "What about Carter?" The Viper's voice came through the phone speaker, heavily accented. Cold. "I'll handle Jake. Once Emma's gone, he'll be devastated. Vulnerable. Within a month, I'll have him sign over the entire company. And if he doesn't cooperate?" Victoria's voice didn't hesitate. "Then he has an accident too. Car crash, house fire, whatever's cleanest." Jake's hand clenched around his phone. "Keep recording. Get evidence." "The girl is the key," Victoria continued. "With her eidetic memory, she's seen too much. My meetings with you, the SUV that follows her to school, everything. She's too smart, too observant. Then we eliminate her tomorrow. Blake's son extracts her from school. We make it look like an accident at the warehouse. Fall from the roof. Tragic but inevitable. Children climb where they shouldn't. Won't people be suspicious? The timing? Who's going to suspect the grieving stepmother? The woman who recorded her last performance? Who tried so hard to be a good mother to the poor child who just missed her real mom too much?" Victoria laughed. Actually laughed. "You're right. It's perfect. We move tomorrow afternoon." "Good. And Victoria? Don't develop a conscience. You've come too far to get weak now." "I'm not weak, Raphael. I'm practical. The girl is worth $200 million to me. That's not personal. It's math." The call ended. Victoria closed her laptop, stretched, yawned, completely unaware that her husband stood 10 feet away, recording everything, hearing everything, understanding everything. Jake backed away, returned to his office, sat in the dark, watched the video he'd just captured, listened to Victoria plan his daughter's murder with the casual tone of someone ordering coffee. His hands shook, not from fear, from rage. For 6 months, Victoria had played him, pretended to love Emma, slept in his bed, sat at his table, all while planning to murder his child for money. Jake wanted to burst into that guest bedroom, wanted to confront her, arrest her, hurt her. But his FBI training overrode emotion. Think tactically. Victoria wasn't working alone. Los Serpientes had resources. People. If Jake tipped his hand too early, they'd adapt. disappear. Come back later when he wasn't prepared. No. Jake needed to be smart, needed to build a case. Protect Emma. Take down the entire operation. He forwarded the video to 3 people. Sheriff Tom Mason, his FBI contact Frank Miller, and his lawyer, with instructions to release it if anything happened to him or Emma. Then he pulled up his company's security footage, the SUV Victoria had mentioned, following Emma to school. Jake found it on camera from 3 days ago. Black Escalade, tinted windows. License plate partially obscured but visible. Jake ran it through his databases, registered to a shell corporation, same corporation that owned several properties recently purchased in Red Valley, including the Riverside warehouse. That's where they'd take Emma. That's where they planned to kill her. Jake looked at the clock. 11:40 p.m. In approximately 14 hours, Los Serpientes would make their move. Jake had 14 hours to stop them. He picked up his phone, started making calls. Assembling the team Ghost. Sullivan answered on the second ring, despite the late hour. Jake, what's wrong? I need you in Red Valley, tomorrow morning. Full tactical kit. Ghost didn't ask questions. 15 years of working together had built that trust. What's the threat level? My wife is a Los Serpientes plant. They're planning to kidnap and murder Emma tomorrow afternoon. Make it look like an accident. Silence on the other end. Then, I'll be there by 8 a.m. Who else do we have? I'm calling Maya next. And Tom Mason. That's all I can trust right now. 4 against how many? Unknown. At least a dozen. Probably more. Jake, we should call in federal. Let the FBI handle this. No time. They move tomorrow at school dismissal. By the time the Bureau mobilizes, Emma will be dead. Ghost exhaled. All right, I'm in. But Jake, this is bad odds. We need to be smart. I know. That's why I need you. Next call. Maya Rodriguez. The phone rang 4 times. Jake was about to hang up when a sleepy voice answered. This better be life or death. Calling at midnight. It is. Emma's life. Maya was instantly alert. Talk to me. Jake gave her the abbreviated version. Victoria. Los Serpientes. The plan. The timeline. I need you to do what you do best. Hack their systems. Find their communications. Give me eyes and ears on their operation. I'll need physical access to Victoria's computer. I'll get it to you. How long do you need? 4 hours with the laptop. I can mirror everything. Track their phones. Monitor their network. By tomorrow afternoon, I'll know what they're planning before they do. Good. Can you be here by 7 a.m.? I'll be there by 6. Last call. Sheriff Tom Mason. He answered immediately. Sheriffs in small towns never really sleep. Jake, late for a social call. Tom, I need you to trust me, really trust me. Can you do that? Mason's tone changed. Talk. Jake played him the video. 30 seconds of Victoria planning Emma's murder. Mason was silent for a long moment after it ended. When he spoke, his voice was hard. That's your wife. Planning to kill your daughter. On tape. Yes. When do they move? Tomorrow, 3 p.m. School dismissal. I can have deputies at the school. Arrest Victoria now. Protective custody for Emma. No. If we move too early, the rest of the cell goes underground. We need to catch them in the act. All of them. End the entire operation. Jake, that's a hell of a risk. We're talking about using your daughter as bait. We're talking about protecting my daughter and taking down a trafficking ring that's using my company's data to target 53 families. This is bigger than Emma, but it starts with keeping her safe. Mason was quiet. What do you need from me? Be ready to move on Riverside Warehouse. 3:30 p.m. Bring every deputy you have. Coordinate with Phoenix PD if you can. But Tom, I'm going in first. I'm getting Emma out before anyone else arrives. Jake, non-negotiable. She's my daughter. I'm not letting anyone else take that risk. Mason sighed. All right, but I'm coming in right behind you. And Jake, don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Anything that gets you killed before you can raise your daughter. Jake smiled grimly. I'll do my best. He hung up. Looked at the clock. Midnight. 15 hours until Emma's school let out. 15 hours to prepare for war. Jake opened his office safe. Inside were weapons he hadn't touched in 5 years. Glock 19, backup compact 9mm, tactical knife, body armor, the tools of his former life. He'd thought he was done with violence, thought he'd left that world behind when he retired from the FBI. But violence had come to his door, had threatened his child. So violence was what it would get in return. Jake began the methodical process of checking his weapons, loading magazines, testing actions, preparing. Upstairs, Victoria slept peacefully, dreaming of $200 million, of freedom, of victory. She had no idea the trap was closing around her. The last normal morning, 6 a.m. Emma's alarm clock buzzed. She woke slowly, reached over to turn it off, sat up in bed. Outside her window, the Arizona sun was just starting to paint the sky pink. Emma got dressed for school. Jeans, blue t-shirt, white sneakers. She brushed her hair, pulled it back with Rebecca's blue ribbon, opened her desk drawer, took out Rebecca's Rolex, held it in her palm. The weight was familiar, comforting. Emma wound the watch, listened to it tick. Good morning, Mommy. Today feels wrong. I don't know why, but something bad is going to happen. I can feel it. The watch ticked steadily, time moving forward whether Emma was ready or not. Emma slipped the watch into her jeans pocket, picked up her backpack, went downstairs. Victoria was in the kitchen making breakfast. Pancakes. Emma's favorite. The gesture would have been touching if Emma didn't know it was performance art. Good morning, sweetheart. Big day today. Emma sat at the counter. Why big? Oh, no reason. Just every day with you is special. Victoria slid a plate of pancakes in front of Emma. Perfect circles. Perfect golden brown. Emma ate mechanically, not tasting, just fueling her body. Jake entered the kitchen. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept. His eyes met Emma's, and something passed between them. Emma couldn't identify what, but it felt important. Morning, baby girl. Morning, Daddy. Jake poured coffee, leaned against the counter, watched Victoria move around the kitchen. His expression was neutral, but Emma noticed his body language. Tense. Alert. Victoria, I need to borrow your laptop today. Mine's acting up. Need to send some contracts. Victoria's smile didn't waver. Of course. It's in the guest room. Help yourself. Thanks. Emma watched this exchange. Something was definitely wrong. Daddy never borrowed Victoria's computer. He had 3 of his own. Jake finished his coffee. Emma, I'm driving you to school today. Both Emma and Victoria looked surprised. But I always drive her, Victoria said. I know, but I want to. I've missed too many mornings. Jake's tone left no room for argument. Victoria's smile tightened. All right, that's nice. Father, daughter, time. Emma quickly finished her pancakes, grabbed her backpack, followed Jake to the car. Once they were in Jake's BMW, doors closed. Jake turned to Emma. "Baby girl, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say." Emma's blue eyes went wide. "Daddy, what's wrong?" "Victoria is not who she pretends to be. She's working with some very bad people, and they want to hurt you." Emma wasn't surprised. She'd known Victoria was bad, but hearing her father confirm it made it real. "What are they going to do?" "They're going to try to take you from school today. A boy named Dylan Blake might tell you he found something of Mommy's, that he wants to show you. But Emma, it's a trick. You cannot go with him. Do you understand?" Emma nodded. "What should I do?" "You stay with your teacher. All day. Don't go anywhere alone. Not the bathroom, not recess, not lunch. At 3 o'clock, Sheriff Mason will pick you up. Not Victoria, not Dylan. Only Sheriff Mason. Can you promise me that?" "I promise." "But Daddy, if Victoria knows bad people, why is she still at home? Why didn't you call the police?" "Because I'm catching all of them. Not just Victoria, all the bad people she works with. And to do that, I need one more day." Jake pulled something from his pocket. A small device. "This is a GPS tracker. I'm putting it in your backpack. If anything happens, if someone takes you, I'll be able to find you, okay?" "Okay." Jake zipped the tracker into a hidden pocket of Emma's backpack. Then he held her face in his hands, looked into her eyes. Rebecca's eyes. "Emma, I love you more than anything in this world. I know I haven't shown it well. I know I've made you feel second place to work. But that ends today. After today, you'll never doubt that you're my priority. My only priority." Emma hugged him tight. "I love you too, Daddy. And I'm not scared. Because I know you'll come get me if something bad happens." Jake's eyes burned, but he didn't let himself cry. "That's right. No matter what, I'll come for you." He drove Emma to school, walked her inside, spoke quietly to Mrs. Chen. "Emma doesn't leave your sight today. Sheriff Mason will pick her up at 3. No one else. If anyone tries to take her, you call this number immediately." He handed her a card with his direct line. Mrs. Chen looked concerned. "Mr. Carter, is Emma in danger?" "Just please do what I'm asking. I'll explain everything later." Jake knelt down, hugged Emma one more time. "Remember, stay with Mrs. Chen. Sheriff Mason at 3. That's all." "I remember, Daddy." Jake watched her walk into the classroom, watched her take her seat, watched her pull out Rebecca's Rolex and set it on her desk. Her talisman, her protection. Then he left. Got in his car, drove 3 blocks away and parked where he could watch the school. Ghost arrived in a black pickup truck. Maya pulled up in her Subaru. They met in Jake's car. Maya had Victoria's laptop. She'd broken into this house through a back window while Victoria was in the shower, had cloned the hard drive, returned the laptop, all in 15 minutes. "I've got everything," Maya said, fingers flying across her own laptop. "Their entire network, phone logs, text messages, GPS locations. Jake, this is bigger than we thought. Los Serpientes has been using your company's data to plan attacks on 17 homes. Kidnappings, robberies. They're not just trafficking. They're running a full criminal enterprise." "How many operators in Red Valley?" 23 confirmed, including Victoria. Ghost whistled. "We're outnumbered 5-1. "Then we'll have to be 5 times smarter," Jake said. "What's the plan for today?" Maya pulled up a screen. "Victoria is texting with someone named Marcus Blake. He's the one sending his son Dylan to extract Emma. They're planning to grab her during afternoon dismissal. There's always confusion when school lets out. Parents everywhere. Easy to slip one kid into a car. Except Emma won't go with Dylan. I warned her. Then they'll adapt. Marcus is positioned outside the school in a black Escalade. If Plan A fails, he'll move to Plan B. Which is? Unknown. But Los Serpientes doesn't give up easy. If they can't get Emma subtly, they'll get her forcefully. Jake's jaw tightened. Then we stop them before they get close. Ghost checked his weapons. What's the play? I stay outside the school. You park on the north side. Maya, you keep monitoring their communications. The second anything changes, you tell me. Tom Mason has deputies positioned 3 blocks away. When they make their move, we take them down. All of them. And Emma? Mrs. Chen keeps her inside until Mason arrives. By 3:15, Emma will be safe at the sheriff's station, and we'll be loading these bastards into federal custody. It was a good plan. Solid. Based on intelligence and tactical positioning. But Los Serpientes had been planning longer, and they had resources Jake didn't know about. 3 o'clock. The school bell rang. Children poured out of Red Valley Elementary like water from a broken dam. Parents lined up in cars. Kids ran to find their rides. Controlled chaos. Jake sat in his BMW 300 yards away. Binoculars trained on the entrance. Ghost was positioned on the north side. Maya monitored communications from her car. I've got Marcus Blake, Ghost said over their radio link. Black Escalade, northeast corner. He's watching the entrance. Copy, Jake said. Emma should be staying inside with Mrs. Chen. Maya's voice came through tense. Jake, Victoria just got a text from someone new. Unknown number. It says, Plan B activated. Teacher neutralized. Jake's blood froze. What does that mean? I don't know, but... Maya's voice was cut off by Jake's phone ringing. Mrs. Chen's number. He answered. What's wrong? Mrs. Chen's voice was confused. Worried. Mr. Carter, Emma's not here. She left with Deputy Rodriguez about 10 minutes ago. He said you sent him, that there was a family emergency. Jake's world tilted. What did this deputy look like? Uniform, badge, Hispanic, maybe 30. I checked his ID. It looked official. There is no Deputy Rodriguez in this county. Where did they go? I don't know. He said he was taking Emma to you. Mr. Carter, what's happening? Jake was already starting his car. Lock down the school. Call Tom Mason. Tell him Emma's been taken. He ended the call. Keyed his radio. They've got her. Fake deputy extracted her 10 minutes ago. Ghost, follow Marcus. See where he goes. Maya, track Emma's GPS. Guide me in. Maya's fingers flew. Got her signal. She's moving west on Route 20, heading toward the industrial district. Riverside Warehouse. That's where they're taking her. Jake's foot hit the floor. The BMW's engine screamed. He blew through stop signs, ignored traffic lights, called Mason. Tom, Emma's been grabbed. They're taking her to Riverside. I'm 2 minutes behind them. Get everyone you have to that warehouse. Jake, wait for backup. No time! Jake ended the call, focused on driving, on closing the distance. Maya's voice in his ear. Jake, I'm seeing multiple vehicles converging on Riverside. They're fortifying. This is a trap. They want you to come in hot. Then I'll give them what they want. Jake, Maya, I don't care if it's a trap. That's my daughter. Ahead, Jake saw the turnoff for Riverside. Took it too fast. Tires screamed. The warehouse loomed in the distance. He could see vehicles. Armed men. A fortified position. Suicide to go in alone. But Emma was in there. And nothing else mattered. Inside Riverside, Emma sat in a small room on the 5th floor. Hands zip-tied. Dylan Blake stood guard by the door. He wouldn't look at her. Your dad told you not to come with me, Dylan said quietly. You said you found my mother's bracelet. I know. I'm sorry. My dad made me. Emma studied him. Even scared. Even tied up, her eidetic memory was cataloging everything. Dylan's bruises. His flinch when they'd walked past Marcus. The way he'd whispered, "I'm sorry," when he'd helped zip tie her hands. "You don't want to do this," Emma said. "Doesn't matter what I want." "It always matters." Dylan finally looked at her. "You don't understand. My dad, he's not like your dad. Your dad cares about you. Mine only cares about money." "Then why do you help him?" "Because he's all I have." The door opened. Marcus Blake entered. Behind him, Victoria. Beautiful. Cold. Mask finally off. Victoria knelt down in front of Emma, grabbed her chin, forced eye contact. "Hello, Emma. I suppose the charade is over." Emma didn't flinch. "My daddy knows. He knows everything." Victoria laughed. "Your daddy is about to make a very stupid decision. He's going to try to save you, and when he does, we're going to kill him. Then we're going to kill you, and I'm going to take everything he built." "You're wrong. My daddy is strong. He'll stop you." "Your daddy is a businessman who plays at being tough. He stopped being dangerous years ago." Emma's voice was steady, certain. "My daddy made me a promise, and he keeps his promises." Victoria stood. "We'll see." She turned to Marcus. "Take her to the roof. Make it quick. I want this done before Carter arrives." Marcus grabbed Emma's arm, pulled her up. Dylan followed reluctantly. They climbed the stairs. 5th floor to rooftop access. Emma could hear sirens in the distance. Daddy was coming. The rooftop door opened. Desert wind hit Emma's face. The sun was starting to set. Golden hour. Beautiful. Marcus pushed Emma toward the edge. The ledge was low, easy to fall from, easy to make it look accidental. "Nothing personal, kid," Marcus said. Emma backed away, toward the edge. Nowhere to run, hands tied. 6 years old, helpless, but not hopeless, because in the distance she could hear an engine, screaming, getting louder. Her daddy was coming. And that meant everything would be okay. Jake arrives. Jake's BMW hit the Riverside parking lot at 70 miles per hour. Men with guns scattered. Jake didn't slow. Aimed the car at the back entrance, steel-reinforced doors that should have stopped him. Should have. Jake's BMW weighed 4,000 pounds. At 70 miles per hour, it was a battering ram. The doors exploded inward. Metal screamed. Airbags deployed. Jake's head cracked against the side window. Blood ran into his eye. But he was inside. Jake kicked open his door, rolled out into concrete hell. Bullets immediately started flying. He'd taken a pistol from the first man who'd tried to stop him at the perimeter. Now he used it, returning fire, taking cover behind his wrecked BMW. "Emma!" Jake's voice echoed through the warehouse. "Daddy's here!" On the rooftop, Emma heard. Turned toward the sound. Victoria had joined them on the roof. Heard Jake's voice. Her face twisted with rage. "Blake, do it now!" Marcus moved toward Emma. She backed up. Heel touched the edge. "Please," Emma said. "Please don't." Marcus hesitated. For just a second. This was a child. This was murder. Victoria saw the hesitation. Pushed past Marcus. Her hands reached for Emma. "I'll do it myself." Emma's blue eyes locked onto Victoria's. "My daddy keeps his promises." Victoria grabbed Emma's shoulders. "Your daddy's too late." And she pushed. Emma fell backward, off the roof, into empty air. 5 stories of nothing between her and the concrete below. But as she fell, Emma wasn't afraid, because she could hear her father, roaring her name, running, coming for her, just like he'd promised. The catch, Jake had cleared the first floor, bodies behind him. He'd been shot. Shoulder, ribs. Didn't matter. The pain was distant. Irrelevant. He'd heard Victoria's voice from above. Heard Emma scream. Jake burst through the back exit. Looked up just in time to see Emma's small body tilting backward off the rooftop. Time compressed. Jake's combat training calculated trajectory in microseconds. Wind speed, Emma's weight, the angle of her fall. Distance to target. 75 feet. 4.2 seconds of free fall. Jake ran, positioned himself. Arms opened wide. Emma fell. Silent now. Not screaming. Just falling. Trust was a beautiful thing. Jake's arms caught her. The impact drove him to his knees. Boots cracked the asphalt. Every bone screamed. Shoulder wound reopened. Blood everywhere. But his daughter was safe. Emma's arms wrapped around his neck, clutching. Alive. Whole. "Daddy, I've got you, baby girl. I've always got you." On the roof, Victoria stared down in disbelief. Impossible. He'd caught her, from 5 stories. Actually caught her. Behind Jake, sirens were getting louder. Sheriff Mason, finally arriving with backup. But Los Serpientes wasn't done. Marcus Blake and 6 men poured out of the warehouse, weapons raised. Jake set Emma down gently, covered her with his body, prepared to take bullets for her if necessary. Then Ghost Sullivan's truck crashed through the south fence. Raven was firing from the truck bed, suppressing Marcus's men. Mason's vehicles arrived from the east, deputies pouring out, taking positions. The firefight was brief, intense. Los Serpientes was outnumbered now. Outgunned. Marcus Blake went down first, shot by Mason. Dylan dropped his weapon, surrendered, crying. On the roof, Victoria realized it was over. She ran for the stairwell, made it 3 floors before Deputy Chen tackled her. Jake held Emma through all of it, shielding her, whispering that she was safe, that he was here, that he'd never let her go. When the shooting stopped, Mason approached, saw the blood running down Jake's shoulder, his torn ribs, his shattered leg from where a bullet had caught him during the firefight. "Jake, you need an ambulance." "Emma first, check her." "Emma's fine, you're the one bleeding out." Jake looked down at his daughter. "You okay, baby girl?" Emma nodded. "I knew you'd come. You promised." Jake smiled through the pain. A father's promise never dies. Then he collapsed. Jake Carter knelt on broken asphalt, his daughter safe in his arms, and felt his body beginning to fail. The adrenaline that had carried him through the warehouse firefight was draining away. In its place came pain. White hot, overwhelming. His left shoulder was a mess. The bullet had shattered his clavicle. His ribs screamed with every breath. 2 cracked, possibly 3. And his left thigh was bleeding heavily. Arterial. He could feel his life pumping out with each heartbeat. Emma pulled back to look at him. Her blue eyes went wide. "Daddy, you're bleeding. You're bleeding everywhere." "It's okay, baby girl. I'm okay." But he wasn't okay. Jake could feel himself going into shock, vision narrowing, hearing becoming distant. His body was shutting down. Around them, the firefight continued. Ghost Sullivan had positioned his truck as cover, was exchanging fire with Marcus Blake and his men. Sheriff Mason's deputies were arriving. More sirens, more chaos, but Jake couldn't focus on any of it. Just Emma, her face, her voice, making sure she was real, safe, alive. "Daddy, don't close your eyes. Please don't close your eyes." "Just for a second. Just need to rest." No, Daddy, you have to stay awake. Emma's voice was pulling him back, keeping him tethered to consciousness, to life. Ghost appeared beside them, dropped to one knee, took one look at Jake's wounds and keyed his radio. Mason, I need medical now. Jake's hit bad. Multiple GSWs. He's going into shock. Mason's voice crackled back. Life flight is 5 minutes out. Can he hold that long? Ghost looked at the blood pooling beneath Jake, at his pale face, his shallow breathing. I don't know. Jake forced his eyes to focus. Ghost, take care of Emma. If I don't make it. You're going to make it, you stubborn bastard. Promise me. You'll watch over her. Ghost's jaw tightened. I promise, but you're going to do it yourself. You hear me? You don't get to quit now. A bullet sparked off the asphalt near them. Ghost returned fire. Kept one hand on Jake's shoulder, applying pressure, trying to slow the bleeding. Emma, I need you to be brave for me, Ghost said. Can you press your hands right here, hard as you can? Emma nodded, placed her small hands over the wound on Jake's shoulder, pressed. Her hands were immediately covered in blood. She didn't flinch, just kept pressure. Kept her father alive. That's good, Emma. Just like that. You're doing great. Deputy Sarah Chen arrived, combat medic training from her army days. She took over from Emma, ripped open Jake's shirt, revealed the full extent of damage. Sweet Jesus, how is he still conscious? Sheer stubbornness, Ghost said. Can you stabilize him? Chen was already working. Pressure bandages. Tourniquet on the thigh. I can slow the bleeding, but he needs surgery, soon. The sound of helicopter rotors cut through the gunfire. Life flight. Landing in the parking lot. Rotor wash sent dust everywhere. Made it hard to see, hard to breathe. But the medical team was professional. They had Jake on a stretcher in seconds. IVs going in. Fluids running. Oxygen mask over his face. Emma tried to climb up beside her father. A paramedic gently stopped her. Honey, you can't come in the helicopter. There's not enough room. But he's my daddy. I have to stay with him. Jake's hand found Emma's, squeezed weakly. When he spoke, his voice was muffled by the oxygen mask, barely audible. Be brave, baby girl. Sheriff Mason will bring you. I'll see you soon. You promise? Jake's eyes were closing, but he forced them open one more time. I promise. A father's promise never dies. Then the paramedics were loading him, lifting off. The helicopter rose into the evening sky, banking toward Phoenix Memorial Hospital, toward Jake's last chance at survival. Emma stood in the parking lot, covered in her father's blood, watching the helicopter disappear. Ghost put a hand on her shoulder. He's strong, Emma. He'll make it. He has to. He promised. Behind them, the last of the firefight ended. Marcus Blake was down. Shot 3 times, dying on the concrete. His final words were to his son. Dylan, I'm sorry. Should have been a better father. Dylan knelt beside his dying father, crying, conflicted. I don't understand. Why did you do this? Why did you hurt people? Marcus coughed blood. Money. Always about money. But Dylan, you're worth more than money. Remember that. Then Marcus Blake died, eyes open, staring at nothing. Dylan sat back, looked at his hands, his father's blood on them. His soul, too. A 13-year-old boy who'd helped kidnap a little girl because his father told him to. Sheriff Mason approached slowly. Dylan Blake, you're under arrest. Dylan didn't resist. Just stood. Held out his hands for cuffs. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mason's expression was stern, but not unkind. You'll have a chance to make this right. Starting now. On the 5th floor of Riverside Warehouse, Victoria Blackwood Carter was being escorted down the stairs by Deputy Chen, hands cuffed behind her back. Her designer clothes were dusty. Her perfect hair was disheveled. Her mask was completely gone. When she saw Emma standing in the parking lot, Victoria's face twisted with pure hatred. You little brat. This is all your fault. If you'd just died quietly, none of this would have happened. Mason stepped between them. That's enough. Do you know how much money I could have had? $200 million, and this stupid child ruined everything. Emma looked at Victoria with those blue eyes, Rebecca's eyes, and when she spoke, her voice was calm, certain, adult. You didn't lose because of me. You lost because you're evil, and evil always loses in the end. My mommy taught me that. Victoria lunged, tried to get at Emma despite the cuffs. Chen and another deputy grabbed her, held her back. I hope your father dies, Victoria screamed. I hope you end up alone. I hope you suffer. Mason had had enough. Get her out of here. And Victoria, you're going to spend the rest of your life in a cage. I'll personally make sure of that. They dragged Victoria to a patrol car, shoved her inside. She kept screaming, kept spewing venom, until the door closed and her voice was muted. Emma turned away, toward Ghost. Can we go to the hospital now? I need to be there when Daddy wakes up. Of course. A Ghost guided Emma to his truck. Maya was already there. She'd been monitoring communications throughout the firefight. Now she just looked exhausted. Is Jake going to make it? Maya asked quietly. Ghost shrugged. If anyone can, he can. They drove to Phoenix in convoy. Ghost's truck, Mason's patrol car, 3 other deputy vehicles, a procession escorting a little girl to see if her father would live or die. Emma sat in the back seat, Rebecca's Rolex in her hand, winding it, listening to it tick, counting seconds, each one a prayer. Please let Daddy live. Please let Daddy live. Please let Daddy live. Phoenix Memorial Hospital, Trauma 1. Dr. Sarah Kim had been a trauma surgeon for 15 years. She'd operated in war zones, in earthquake disasters, in conditions that would break most surgeons. She'd seen every type of injury imaginable. But when Jake Carter hit her emergency room, even she felt her confidence waver. Multiple GSWs, the flight medic reported. Left shoulder, shattered clavicle. Right ribs, possible pneumothorax. Left femoral arterial bleed. BP 60/30. He crashed once in flight. We got him back, but he's circling the drain. Dr. Kim snapped into action. Type and cross for 15 units. Get me 2 trauma bays. Page cardiothoracic and vascular. This is going to take a team. They cut away Jake's clothes, revealed the full horror. 3 entry wounds, 2 exit wounds. The femoral artery was the immediate threat, pumping blood despite the tourniquet. If they didn't repair it in the next 10 minutes, Jake would lose the leg, or his life. Prep for emergency surgery. We're going straight to OR. No time for staging. As they wheeled Jake toward the operating room, his eyes fluttered open, unfocused, confused. He tried to speak. Dr. Kim leaned close. Mr. Carter, you're at Phoenix Memorial. You've been shot. We're taking you to surgery now. Emma. The word was barely a whisper. Your daughter is safe. She's in the waiting room. We'll take care of you so you can see her again. Okay? Jake's hand grabbed Dr. Kim's wrist. Surprisingly strong for a man on death's door. Tell her. Father's promise. Kept it. I'll tell her. Jake's grip loosened. His eyes closed. The surgical team pushed through the OR doors. Dr. Kim looked at the monitor. Jake's vitals were crashing again. Heart rate dropping. Blood pressure non-existent. We're losing him. Charge the paddles. The longest night. Emma sat in the surgical waiting room, wrapped in a blanket Deputy Chen had found. She was still wearing her school clothes, still covered in dried blood. Her father's blood. Ghost sat beside her. Silent. Solid. A presence that said, I'm here. You're not alone. Maya was on her laptop, not monitoring communications anymore, just occupying her hands, needing to do something. Anything. Sheriff Mason paced, checked his phone, made calls, coordinated the aftermath. 23 Los Serpientes members arrested. 3 dead, including Marcus Blake. Evidence being collected. Federal agents on their way. But his mind kept returning to the little girl in the corner. 6 years old, waiting to see if her father would survive. An hour passed. Then 2. A nurse came out once. Mr. Carter is still in surgery. The doctors are working hard. That's all I can tell you right now. Emma nodded. Didn't cry. Just wound Rebecca's Rolex. Listened to it tick. Counted seconds becoming minutes, becoming hours. At the 3-hour mark, the waiting room doors opened. Not a doctor. A visitor. Dylan Blake. He was escorted by a juvenile probation officer. Still in handcuffs. Face swollen from crying. He saw Emma and stopped. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I needed to tell you something. Emma looked at him, waiting. Dylan's voice cracked. I texted Sheriff Mason. During the kidnapping, I gave him the location, the warehouse. I tried to help. I know it doesn't make up for what I did, but I wanted you to know. I tried to fix it. Emma studied him for a long moment. Then she stood, walked over to him, looked up at his tear-stained face. Thank you, she said simply. Dylan broke down, sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Emma didn't hug him, didn't forgive him completely, but she nodded, acknowledging his apology, acknowledging that he'd tried, at the end, to do the right thing. The probation officer led Dylan away, back to juvenile detention, where he'd spend the next several years paying for his choices. But he'd also just received something valuable from Emma. The possibility of redemption. The knowledge that trying to make things right mattered. 4 hours. 5 hours. 6. Maya fell asleep in her chair. Ghost dozed. Mason left to handle some crisis at Riverside. Deputy Chen brought Emma hot chocolate. Crackers. Emma couldn't eat, could barely drink. Just sat. Waiting. Hoping. Praying. At 2 a.m., the OR doors finally opened. Dr. Kim emerged, still in her scrubs, exhausted, blood on her hands despite washing them, but standing, which had to be a good sign. Everyone stood immediately. Emma was frozen, terrified of what the doctor would say. Dr. Kim pulled down her surgical mask, looked directly at Emma. Then she knelt down, put herself at Emma's eye level. Are you Emma? Emma nodded, unable to speak. Your daddy asked me to tell you something. Right before we put him to sleep for surgery, he said to tell Emma that he kept his promise. He's alive? He's alive. Emma's legs gave out. Ghost caught her, held her as she sobbed with relief. Great heaving sobs that shook her small body. All the fear, all the terror, all the waiting. Released in that moment. Dr. Kim continued. The surgery took 7 hours. We repaired the artery in his leg, fixed the shoulder. His clavicle was shattered. We had to use pins and plates. 2 ribs were cracked, but not displaced. His lung was bruised, but not punctured. He lost a tremendous amount of blood. We gave him 12 units during surgery. But he's going to be okay? He's going to live. The recovery will be long, painful. He'll need physical therapy. His shoulder will never be 100%. He'll probably walk with a limp. But yes, he's going to be okay. Emma wiped her tears. Can I see him? He's in recovery. Not conscious yet. But in a few hours when he wakes up, you'll be the first person he sees. I promise. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Kim stood, addressed the adults. He coded twice during surgery, once going in, once when we were repairing the shoulder. Most men wouldn't have survived. But your father fought like hell, like he had something important to live for. Ghost put a hand on Emma's shoulder. He did. The first twist revealed. 3 days later, Jake was awake, in pain but conscious, lucid, and asking questions. Emma was curled up in the chair beside his bed. She'd barely left his side. Hospital staff had bent rules. Let her stay. Let her sleep there. This little girl had nearly lost her father. They weren't going to separate them now. Sheriff Mason sat on the other side of the bed. He had news. Not all of it good. Jake, we've been processing evidence from Victoria's laptop. There's something you need to know. Jake's voice was rough from the ventilator. Tell me. Mason hesitated, glanced at Emma. Maybe the kid shouldn't hear this. She's already lived through worse. Tell me. Mason opened a folder, pulled out documents. Rebecca's car accident, 2 years ago. The official report said brake failure, mechanical issue. We accepted that, but Victoria's files tell a different story. Jake's jaw clenched. What story? Los Serpientes ordered the hit. Rebecca had discovered something. She was treating patients at the free clinic, remember? One of them was a trafficking victim. The girl told Rebecca about Los Serpientes, about their operation. Rebecca started documenting everything. Was planning to go to the FBI. Jake's heart monitor beeped faster, anger spiking his blood pressure. They killed her. Marcus Blake cut the brake lines, made it look mechanical. Victoria was already positioning herself to meet you. This was planned from the beginning. They killed Rebecca. Waited 18 months. Then Victoria swooped in to comfort the grieving widower. Jake's hands fisted in the sheets. 2 years. She's been playing me for 2 years. Emma's voice was small. They killed Mommy? Mason's expression was apologetic. I'm sorry, Emma. Yes. Emma processed this. Her eidetic memory was pulling up every moment with Victoria. Every false smile. Every fake hug. The woman who'd killed her mother had been living in their house, sleeping in her mother's bed, pretending to love her. Jake reached out his good hand. Emma took it, held tight. Victoria will pay for what she did, Jake said. His voice was cold, final. Both crimes, murder and attempted murder. I'll make sure she never sees daylight again. Mason nodded. Federal prosecutors are building a RICO case, multiple counts, murder, conspiracy, human trafficking. She's looking at life without parole, minimum. Good. After Mason left, Emma and Jake sat in silence for a while, processing, grieving all over again for Rebecca, for the truth they'd just learned. Finally, Emma spoke. "Daddy, are you angry at Mommy? For trying to go to the FBI? For putting herself in danger?" Jake thought about this. "I'm angry she's gone. But no, I'm not angry at her. Your mother was brave. She saw people being hurt and tried to help them. That's who she was. That's why I loved her. I want to be like her. You already are, baby girl. You're exactly like her." Emma climbed up onto the hospital bed, carefully, avoiding Jake's wounds, nestled against his good shoulder. "Tell me about Mommy, about when you first met." And Jake did. For the next hour, he told Emma stories about Rebecca, their first date, their wedding, the day Emma was born. Happy memories that had been buried under grief for too long. Emma listened, memorized every word, her eidetic memory preserving these stories forever, making sure her mother's memory lived on. The second twist. Victoria's secret. 4 days after surgery, Jake received another visitor. One he wasn't expecting. FBI agent Frank Miller, Jake's former handler. The man who'd run his undercover operation for 15 years. Frank was in his 60s now. Gray hair, tired eyes, but sharp as ever. "Jake, you look like hell. Feel worse. What brings you to Phoenix?" "Los Serpientes investigation. The Bureau is taking over from local. We're building a federal case." Frank pulled a chair close, lowered his voice. "There's something you need to know. About Victoria." "More bad news?" "Great. She's pregnant." Jake's world tilted. "What? 3 months? The jail doctor confirmed it during her medical intake. It's yours, Jake." Jake's mind reeled. Pregnant. With his child. A child conceived while Victoria was planning to murder Emma, while she was betraying everything. Does she know? She knows. And she's already trying to use it for leverage, claiming you'll want to protect your child, that you'll drop charges if it means saving an unborn baby. Jake's laugh was bitter. "She doesn't know me at all. So you want to proceed? Full prosecution?" "Absolutely. The child is innocent. Victoria is not. I'll take custody when the baby's born. Raise it with Emma. But Victoria goes to prison for life." Frank nodded approval. "That's what I told the prosecutors you'd say. Cold but correct." After Frank left, Jake told Emma about the baby. She deserved to know. This would affect her life too. Emma's reaction surprised him. "I'm going to have a brother or sister?" "Yes. In about 6 months. But Victoria is bad." "The baby isn't bad. The baby didn't choose Victoria as a mother, just like you didn't choose to lose your real mother. But we'll be a family. You, me, and the baby. We'll love the baby. We'll teach them to be good. To be like Rebecca, not like Victoria." Emma thought about this, then nodded. "Okay. I can be a big sister. Mommy would want me to love the baby, even if it came from bad." Jake pulled her close with his good arm. "You're an amazing kid. You know that? I learned from the best." Recovery and revelation. 2 weeks post-surgery, Jake was transferred to a rehabilitation facility, learning to walk again. Physical therapy 3 times a day. Painful, exhausting, but necessary. Emma came every day after school, did homework in his room, told him about her day, about the friends she was making now that she wasn't scared all the time, about Mrs. Chen's new piano pieces. Ghost and Maya visited often. They'd become fixtures in Emma's life. Uncle Ghost and Aunt Maya, she called them now. One afternoon, Ghost brought news. The FBI finished processing Victoria's network. They arrested 16 more Los Serpientes members across Arizona, shut down 3 trafficking operations, rescued 42 victims. Jake, what you did saved a lot of lives. Jake shook his head. I was just trying to save Emma. Maybe, but the intel from Victoria's laptop led to the biggest cartel bust in Arizona history. You should feel good about that. I'll feel good when I can walk without a cane. Maya laughed, always so cheerful. They stayed for hours, talking, laughing, becoming the family Jake and Emma needed. Not blood family, but chosen family, which was sometimes stronger. The third twist. Dylan's redemption. 6 weeks after the incident, Jake received an unexpected visitor. Dylan Blake, accompanied by his probation officer and a social worker. Dylan looked different, thinner, older. Prison had aged him, but also something else. He looked less angry, more at peace. Mr. Carter, I know you don't want to see me, but my therapist said I need to do this. For me and for Emma. Jake's voice was cold. You helped kidnap my daughter. I know. I know what I did. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know something. What? I texted Sheriff Mason during the kidnapping. Gave him the location. The plan. I know it was too late to stop everything. But I tried. At the end, I tried to do the right thing. Jake studied the boy. Saw genuine remorse. Saw a kid who'd been raised by a monster and was trying to become something better. Why should I believe you? Because Sheriff Mason confirmed it. He has my texts, time-stamped. I sent them from the school. Before we even got to the warehouse, I was trying to help. Mason had mentioned this. Jake had forgotten in the chaos of surgery and recovery. But it was true. Dylan had tried to warn them, had tried to save Emma. You still helped take her, Jake said. I know, and I'll spend 3 years in juvenile detention paying for that. But Mr. Carter, I'm not my father. I don't want to be my father. I want to be better. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then, what do you want from me? Nothing. Just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that I'm trying to be better. That's all. Dylan stood to leave, but Jake stopped him. Dylan, you made terrible choices, but you also tried to fix them. That matters. When you get out in 3 years, if you stay clean, if you stay good, come find me. I might have a job for you. Dylan's eyes widened. Why would you do that? Because everyone deserves a second chance, even people who don't deserve it. That's what my wife believed, and I'm trying to be the man she thought I was. Dylan left, but the encounter stayed with Jake, reminded him that people were complicated, that redemption was possible, that choosing mercy over vengeance was sometimes the harder but better path. 3 months later, the trial. Jake sat in federal court. Emma beside him. Ghost and Maya in the row behind. Sheriff Mason present as key witness. Victoria Blackwood Carter stood before the judge. 7 months pregnant now. Belly swollen with Jake's child. Using it like a shield. Her lawyer was arguing for leniency, for house arrest, for consideration of the unborn child. The judge was having none of it. Ms. Carter, you murdered Rebecca Carter in cold blood. You conspired to murder a 6-year-old child. You facilitated human trafficking operations that victimized dozens of children. Your pregnancy does not absolve you of these crimes. Victoria's mask was back, tears streaming, playing the victim. Your Honor, I was coerced. Los Serpientes threatened me. I had no choice. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, we have evidence that Ms. Carter initiated contact with Los Serpientes. She sought them out, offered Jake Carter's business as an asset. She was the architect of this conspiracy, not a victim of it. The judge reviewed documents, looked at Victoria with disgust. I've reviewed all evidence. I find the defendant guilty on all counts: murder in the first degree, conspiracy to commit murder, human trafficking, RICO violations. Victoria's face went white. But, Your Honor, my baby. Your baby will be born in prison medical facility. Custody will be awarded to the father immediately upon birth. You, Ms. Carter, are sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. The gavel came down. Victoria screamed, lunged toward Jake and Emma. This is your fault, all of you. I should have killed you both when I had the chance. Guards restrained her, dragged her from the courtroom, still screaming, still spewing hate. Emma watched impassively, then turned to Jake. Is it over? It's over. Good. Can we go home now? Yes, baby girl. We can go home. 4 months later, new life. The call came at 3 a.m. Jake's phone buzzing. Prison hospital number. Mr. Carter, your son was born 20 minutes ago. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Healthy. Mother is stable. Jake had prepared for this. Nursery set up. Supplies ready. But the reality of it still felt surreal. He woke Emma. Baby brother is here. Want to come meet him? Emma was up immediately. Really? Now? Now. They drove to the prison medical facility, were escorted to a secure nursery. Behind glass, a tiny baby slept, wrapped in blue blanket, oblivious to the circumstances of his birth. A nurse brought the baby to them in a private room, placed him in Jake's arms. Jake looked down at his son, saw features that were all his own, saw a clean slate, a chance to get fatherhood right from day one. Emma, want to hold your brother? Emma nodded nervously. Jake showed her how to support the head, how to hold him securely. Emma took the baby, stared down at him in wonder. He's so small. You were this small once. What are we going to name him? Jake had thought about this. I was thinking Nathan. It means gift from God, because despite everything, he is a gift, a new beginning. Nathan Carter. I like it. Emma smiled down at her brother. Hi, Nathan. I'm Emma. I'm your big sister, and I promise I'll protect you and love you and teach you everything about Mommy Rebecca. You're going to have a good life. We both are. The baby yawned, tiny fist waving. Emma laughed. Jake watched his 2 children, his daughter and son, his family, born from tragedy but creating something beautiful. This was what Rebecca would have wanted. Life continuing, love multiplying, hope surviving. 6 months later, the epilogue. Autumn came to Red Valley with cooler temperatures and golden light. Jake pushed Emma on the swing set at Cross Park, while Nathan slept in a stroller nearby. 6 months old. Happy, healthy, loved. Jake's limp was barely noticeable now. Months of physical therapy had paid off. His shoulder would never be perfect. But he could lift his son, could push his daughter on a swing, could do the things that mattered. Emma laughed as she went higher. Daddy, watch this. She jumped off mid-swing, landed in a crouch, threw her arms up. Ta-da, Jake applauded. 10 out of 10. Perfect landing. Emma ran back, climbed onto the swing. Again! Sheriff Mason sat on a nearby bench, watching them, smiling. You look good, Jake. Happy. I am. For the first time in years, I actually am. How's work going? Jake had sold Cross Security 3 months after Victoria's trial. Used the money to start something new, a non-profit called Rebecca's Promise, providing security training and protection to domestic violence survivors. Good. We just opened our 3rd safe house, hired 2 more instructors. Turns out using my skills to help people is more satisfying than making money. Rebecca would be proud. I hope so. Ghost and Maya arrived. They'd become regular fixtures in Jake and Emma's life. Uncle Ghost teaching Emma self-defense. Aunt Maya teaching her coding. Building a village around these 2 kids. Sorry we're late, Maya said. Traffic was murder. Nathan woke up, started fussing. Jake lifted him from the stroller, cradled him. The baby settled immediately. He's got you wrapped around his finger, Ghost observed. Completely, and I'm okay with that. They spent the afternoon at the park, playing, laughing, being a family. Not a traditional family, but a real one. Built from broken pieces, stronger for having survived. As the sun began to set, they packed up, prepared to leave. Daddy, Emma said, can we stop at the cemetery? I want to tell Mommy about Nathan, about school, about everything. Of course. They drove to Red Valley Cemetery. Rebecca's grave was on a small rise, peaceful, well-maintained. Jake brought fresh flowers every week. Emma visited twice a month. Emma knelt by the headstone, arranged the flowers carefully, then began talking. Hi, Mommy. It's me again. Things are really good now. Nathan is growing so fast. He smiled for the first time last week. He has Daddy's smile. You'd love him. Jake stood back, holding Nathan, giving Emma privacy. School is good too. I have real friends now, kids who don't think my memory is weird. Mrs. Chen says I'm the best piano student she's ever had. I'm playing Chopin now. Really hard stuff. Nathan cooed softly, as if agreeing. And Daddy is different now too. Better. He's home every night. We have breakfast together every morning. He comes to all my school stuff. He keeps his promises now. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, I miss you, Mommy. I always will. But I'm not so sad anymore, because I know you're watching over us, and I know you're proud of Daddy. He became the man you always knew he could be. Jake felt tears building. He didn't try to hide them. Emma stood, walked back to Jake, looked up at him. Mommy says she loves you, and she's glad you kept your promise. How do you know that? I just know. I can feel it. Jake knelt down, Emma on one side, Nathan in his arms. I love you both so much. You know that, right? We know, Daddy. They stood together by Rebecca's grave. A father and his 2 children. Survivors. Healers. A family reborn from tragedy. As they walked back to the car, Emma took Jake's hand. Daddy? Yeah? Are you happy? Jake looked at his daughter, at his son, at the life they'd built from the ashes. Yes, Emma. I'm happy. For the first time since your mother died, I'm truly happy. Good. Because a father's promise never dies. And you promised to be happy. To live. To be there for us. And I'm keeping that promise. Every single day. They drove home. To their modest house. To their new life. To the future they'd fought so hard to reach. That evening, after Emma was asleep and Nathan was in his crib, Jake stood in his bedroom. Rebecca's photo on the nightstand. I did it, Beck. I kept my promise. Emma's safe. Nathan's healthy. And I'm the father you always believed I could be. I'm finally putting them first. Every single day. He could almost hear her voice, proud, loving, saying what she'd always said. "I knew you would. I always knew." Jake touched the photo, then turned off the light, went to check on his children one more time before bed. Emma was sleeping peacefully. Nathan, too. Both safe. Both loved. Both protected. Jake stood in the hallway between their rooms. Guardian. Father. Protector. And he smiled. Because he'd learned the most important lesson of all. Money didn't matter. Success didn't matter. Power didn't matter. All that mattered was this: his children, his family, his promise. A father's promise never dies, and some promises are worth everything. The end.